Hello, Priscilla. Hello, Denise.
Hello,
Hello,
good
Holly. Hi,
afternoon.
Denise.
And hey, everybody that's with us, wherever you are, could be the morning, could be the evening, could be whenever, but we're glad to be with you. We are three trauma survivors, meet every week to walk each other home. And if you're a trauma survivor, this is your home too. We invite you here because we're not scripted. We don't have any plan about what we're going to teach. What we're here to do is to help each other learn, to listen to each other, to not judge each other, and to say, you know what? Every day can be a challenge for a trauma survivor. Every day, every minute. And how do we, for me, I ask the question, I'll ask Priscilla and Denise, what question do you ask yourself to have a good quality of life? I ask myself, how can I accept, not deny, but accept my background, all the abuse, physical, sexual, psychological, spiritual, all the abuse that I had for 17 years plus. How do I accept that and also choose to have a meaningful and often happy, connected, and safe life? How do I do that? Because that does not come automatically to me as a trauma survivor when I'm always looking around to see and over my shoulder, am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? And my brain got locked into that. Am I safe? Am I safe? And it's hard sometimes to get out of that. So we meet and we share spontaneously from the heart, the soul, the mind, and we've come up with topics and we invite you to join us. You can join us either by writing us individually, you can see our names, or you know what, click and become part of this program. So that's who I am, Holly Elisa Bruno. I'm an author and a public speaker. And how about Priscilla? Tell us about you, girl.
Hi, so I'm Priscilla Rodriguez, trauma therapist, founder of Family Consulting and Coaching, nonprofit dedicated to speak and provide prevention and awareness about trauma-informed and culturally driven in this space of clinical. I'm also the author of Healing from Emotional Trauma Bond. I'm bilingual. I also do podcasting, radio, and do you want me to answer question about what do I do, or or we just,
What,
or
yeah,
Denise will go, or we'll
what was
just.
the question, Denise? Did you get the question that I asked?
The question was, why are we here?
Well, yeah, and how do we find meaning as trauma survivors? How do we
Oh,
live our lives as trauma survivors? That's the same question, basically, just a different iteration. Priscilla, how do you live your best life given you're a trauma survivor and that could affect you negatively every day?
Honestly, even today when I shared the podcast flyer, it's this spaces like this adds meaning. It helps me, reminds me, it reassures me that I'm not alone, that we all have experienced things. And I also have learned how to embrace the experience and look at it from a positive. Like I experienced it. It was not that I wish I did, but I had no control of that. But what am I going to do? Identifying what my body is telling me and also what I can do with that story to help others become.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Thank you. And Denise, what about you, sweetie? How do you take your broken heart and turn it into art?
I am Denise Rokicki, a retired special ed early childhood care provider and trauma informed also. And I want to remind you that if you get triggered during this podcast, uh, drink water. It is the first and best method to get yourself to yourself. It's my first and best method. The reason why or the way that I maintain my continuous improvement from abuse is I come here every week and where I am believed and respected and treated with kindness. And I also belong to another group that I go to weekly. And so I just want to stay on the healing path.
Yes,
I
thank you
hear
so
you.
much, Denise, for saying that. I want to share that I want to say a little bit about me as a therapist also. I really want to encourage like getting a therapy, it's amazing, but participating in this, like the therapists work with those feelings, those roots, those identification, and it provides a space of natural where you could feel safe, heard, right? But I also want to say that spaces like this, like Denise, like you just said, and even the other groups are also those spaces where you're able to not just share respectfully and whatever you feel comfortable with, but sometimes just sitting and listening is helpful.
Mhm.
So I really encourage people if be part of this team and or participate in a group because a lot of things unfold from that.
Yeah, you know, the old saying from the Bible, when two or more are gathered, something happens, and the something that happens is
Sacred. It
there,
becomes sacred.
it becomes sacred. And what is
There's a
sacred?
potential for goodness.
Potential for goodness, potential for connection, which is respectful and loving. And some things are timeless. Loving connection is timeless. And that's what we seek here. It's just to sit with each other in the truth and in respect and in love and without judgment. I love Walt Whitman. After the man had a stroke, he said, be curious, not judgmental. And that's our goal. So, what are we going to be curious about today? Well, thanks to Priscilla, we got a topic, and it's one thing that you might have in your heart right now, too, because yesterday was Father's Day. And so far, until things change biologically, we've all got a father, a sperm donor. And it's no accident that the three of us have fathers that contributed significantly to who we are. Not necessarily to say you're the most beautiful child I ever had, could ever have. No, it could be my father would yell when he would see me when he came home from work, get her out of my sight. And a number of us had fathers that were narcissists. So I just want to invite everybody that's listening and invite Priscilla, Denise, and myself. Let's share what was powerful about Father's Day. How did it touch us? This is not just a mental reporting of what we noticed. It's like what affected our hearts. And I'll just start out with one thing. I remember, and I bet other people have had this too. I felt like I wanted to send, this is back in the day because I'm 80, I wanted to send a card to my father for Father's Day, for his birthday, my mother for Mother's Day, for her birthday, and other things too. And so I would go to the CVS, and I would hunt. Geez, I'd be looking all over for what's a card that would tell my truth. It
Right. It
always
tells the
covered.
truth. It's impossible.
Exactly.
Right,
Yes.
honey. So all this stuff would be the best dad ever. Dad, without you, who would I be? And I'm going, I don't think so. But
Right.
I'm looking for something that's just, and this is what I found after like, felt like an hour sometimes. I found something that just said, I hope you have a good day,
Right.
which was very, very impersonal because I wish everybody a good day. But because he was the perpetrator, the predator, the incester, how could I feel love for him? How could I feel like I wanted to thank him? So let's start out with that. What about you two? What do you do on Father's Day when you acknowledge that you've got a father and this father was not
I'll
what you
go
would want?
because I didn't have
Really?
a father. My original
Mhm.
father died when I was 4 years
Four.
old. Yep,
Hmm.
4 years old. And my evil stepfather is I moved away from my family at the age of 22 until 35 years later. So I never had that obligation of
Mm.
sending a card to him. I did feel it about my mom
Hmm.
that I would want to find a birthday card or a Mother's Day card, which you mentioned how difficult it is to find one that's honest. And I'm sure that would have been a problem too if I was looking for a card for my evil stepfather, but I didn't
How
look.
old were you? How old were you, sweetheart, when your evil stepfather came into your life?
Third grade,
So what
nine,
is
10,
that, 8?
8, 9, 10, something like that.
So you had 4 years without a father and you got sent off to Alabama to your relatives and stuff, and then you came back and was the father just there?
N- no, I don't know. I don't really remember that. It's cloudy. I
With
don't
good
think so
reason.
though.
Was
Yeah,
was there, Denise, a person, an adult that you wish was your father, that you was like, that looks like a good father. I wish he was my father.
no. I really rejected that whole thing. It was men who molested me also. Somebody's father or
So the whole
brother.
gender was just, yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole
And I'm a
gender was just
lesbian.
a very,
Right. Plus, I'm a lesbian, which I think, you know, not that lesbians don't like men, but we prefer women. And so, I had an extra bonus effect of preferring women. So
Mhm.
that's what I looked for to be around, to spend time with. So, no, I had an uncle, but, I learned very young that he was an alcoholic and beat his wife. So that was my namesake, Uncle
Hmm.
Dennis. So
Oh,
I,
wow.
yeah, so I couldn't, no, no, I never found that man that was a role model or someone that I admired or cared about me. Nope, never had one.
So you know a lot about child development, and you know that even from age 4, children witness, experience what they were going through. And so you saw, your father died when you were
Right,
4. Then you had 4 years before you got a stepfather, but that's a long time to be with somebody. Did you, a male figure, present, 4 years not present, then present again? You knew enough about him to call him the evil stepfather, right?
right,
So
right.
what,
I didn't think he was an evil stepfather at the time, but as I observed, it, like all the neighbors would be, oh, he's so noble to have taken on 3 daughters. And soon enough I learned, no, he is not normal. He was looking for or he's not noble. He was looking for material.
so what did you do without a father? I mean, what do you guys think? Does everybody need a father?
I mean, I know there's, lesbian moms that, but they typically look for or try to provide a male role model for their children, especially if they have boys, they really try to, like even probably a gay guy or a gay friend.
Mhm.
But I didn't have that. My mom didn't try to provide that. Uh, my first male that I kind of admired was when I was 16 years old, Mr.
1 second. I think
Bussey.
my sister's here, so I have to just make sure that they see me.
Okay,
But I'm
let's see
here
when you
with
come
you.
Okay.
back, sweetie.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for letting us know. So you had when you were 16 and there was a guy?
I got a job at Ponderosa Steakhouse, and Mr. Bussey was a fine man, and
How did you
he
know he was a fine man and he was saved? Because the other men had not been saved.
I I just observed him, and he was just, and he treated people fairly,
Mhm.
and he was also kind of progressive. Like he ended up letting me be a cook at Ponderosa Steakhouse
Hmm.
because I wanted to, and he let me.
He
And
must have believed in you, girl, that you could do it.
right, because before that, no women cooked at Ponderosa in Toledo, Ohio.
So how did he allow you to do that? Priscilla, Denise is just saying, no women cooking at the restaurant where she worked. She met this guy, Mr. Bussey, who was the supervisor. He liked her. He was fair. He was progressive. She
And
wanted
I
to
was
be
a
a,
good worker, and
and you were a hard worker.
he
Yeah.
loved that. I was on time. He encouraged me for being a good employee. And even when my parents came to eat there once, he mentioned that what a good employee, what a, in fact, I think he gave them credit for raising me properly or something. But honestly, it was my inner desire to
Hmm.
clean, have a clean place for food.
So you had it. How did you know you wanted to cook?
Because that was the most prestigious job there. So I wanted to be, well, I think manager probably was more, but I just wanted to do what the men were doing, what the guys were doing. It was
Would you
cool.
get paid more?
You get paid more, you're in charge of the
Hmm.
flow of food and the flow of waitresses and all that.
So this guy said, I'm going to, because I have faith in this young girl, Denise, I'm going to give her this high status position and she can do it. And what
Yep.
happened?
I did it and I loved it. And I stayed there for all the way through my college.
Wow.
And
Wow.
did he made you look at the male figure? Because this is the thing. Most of the people who are lesbian or even gay men who wants to be like transgender, they've been hurt by
Mhm.
by the other gender. And this is so they basically and one of the things that as a trauma survivors, we become the person we wish we had. We become the person, the ears that we wish we had. And that's
Right.
kind of like what helps us build. So I can see how you kind of detested men.
I mean,
Um
I worked with them and I dated guys from there too. And I went to dances with guys. I didn't hate them, but if I was even with them, if they had power over, I was
Mhm.
not
it's that,
copacetic
yeah.
with that. I
I
was
bet you couldn't trust him, Denise.
right.
Yeah.
But I could trust Mr. Bussey. He was and then we got another guy, Mr. McDermott. He was a good,
Mm.
solid, trying to do the right thing, make this restaurant work. And so I respected that. And those were really the first two men that had power over me that I could work with.
So I have a question for you before we hear from Priscilla. And the question is, if you had a father that you needed and wanted, what qualities would a father have had for you?
I have one photograph of my father when I was, it might even be my sister. It might not be me, but I imagine it's
Mhm.
me. And he is just holding up the baby, the little girl, and looking at her, and she is who she is, and she's beautiful to him, and
Mm.
just genuine love
Hmm.
for that human, that child.
But you never got that from the men who were in father positions.
No,
So how did you get it in your life?
Except
Mhm.
from Mr. Bergie.
right?
Right. That's a good
And
point. Yeah.
who was the other?
Yes,
Who was
Mr.
the other?
Bussey and Mr. Dumit. Yeah,
Okay.
they both looked at me straight on. You are who you are. And if
Hmm.
you want to do that, I'm going to give you the opportunity.
So they
So
were
good.
genuine and authentic to
Right,
you.
right.
And not prejudiced. They were not
No,
prejudiced against you. They could
right,
see you. It's just like your
right,
father holding up the baby girl with love. He looked
right,
at her with love.
right. I
Like,
see you.
what?
You're beautiful.
I
You're
see you.
awesome.
You're special to me.
And I'm
Yeah,
holding you, right?
Hmm.
right.
So
Hmm. Priscilla, what about you,
definitely.
sweetie? Did you have a what did what did you need from a father?
I
Me?
No,
so for
Priscilla.
so
Okay.
me yesterday was actually my first Father Day, which with a lot of mixed emotions. I think that ever since my grandmother passed away, I have been more. Um, And I don't know, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, why did I study this? But it's more like I want to make sure that those that are listening, opening our eyes, going back to those wounds, it's very emotional and it brings a lot of emotions because it comes a lot of questions with that. And one of the things is that once you identify it, now you have the calling to heal. You have that kind because it's just not fair, right? You can't
Mhm.
carry that.
Right.
So for me, it was a mixed emotion. I did. My father is a pure narcissistic. So he was not in my life. And the little memories that I do have of him, what I hear, it's preach, long words and all this. And my mother, I still believe like she has healed some, but at in the midst of things, she had different partners and they played a daddy role. So yesterday, I was reflecting, and one of the things that I was also reflecting that made me feel emotional is I I did not have I have four kids' father, and two of them were not in my kids' life, but I never spoke negatively to my kids about them to the point that on Father's Day they feel like saying Happy Father's Day to what many people will call sperm donators, because that's
Right.
Mhm.
what he was. And for many years I used to always feel like I needed to celebrate Father's Day because I was doing double role into I realized that no matter how much I tried, my kids did, and I saw this with their age, they grew with that void of not having a father.
Mhm.
And no matter how much I tried, that was, they do have generational behaviors and stuff that they carry in their own experience. So having to explain this to my kids throughout their life helped me feel comfortable with that space. But then when I met my son's father, I was grateful. My 13-year-old son's father, I was grateful that he took in my three kids. And he, to this day, he's an amazing dad, not just for the three I had before him, but the one I also had after him. We're still very involved. We have such a great relationship. And then with my husband, being able to see him taking on the four and also doing the grandparent. But going back to the parent, to the father, for me was very mixed because, like you guys, I will always wished I could go out and buy something for my dad, but it was always so difficult because either we were blocked from each other or it was just I was angry. But yesterday it was different. I sent a message, and on Mother's Day he called me, and I thought we were gonna have a I thought we had a good conversation, but then it went sideways. And yesterday I just sent him a message and I left it like that. I didn't, and he tried to make it about him. So it was just a reminder for me to say, my dad is different. Um, I try to love him without judging him because he is, and I'm sure that he doesn't realize, but right, we have one thing we have to understand about narcissistic behavior. It's a distorted mind. It's he doesn't even realize how much
Right.
pain he indulges. And I wrote something real nice for him and my stepdad, who has been with my mom for 16 years. And he has been ears for me. He has held my hand. He has validated me. He has validated my transitions and everything that I've gone through. And I shared that. I was like, not every dad has to have your blood nor your last name.
That's right.
And when I share these things, my father also takes it very emotional.
Right.
Um, but it was a moment for me to reflect on that. I couldn't have been born without him. So I'm grateful for that. Um,
So
and
let's talk, guys. Thank you both. And thank you for just getting down to what it really is about. It's one of the most emotional things we have is to have a father or not have a father. And what is what's the, not stereotype, but what's the expectation when people talk about a child needs two parents and a child needs a father. What's that about?
I
It's
now, yeah, I'm sorry. Were you gonna say something, Denise?
no, go ahead.
I now think it's about quality time. Um, I'm grateful that no, even though I worked three jobs in times, and I was able to provide for my children as a single mom, and I'm a
Mhm.
great model. Um, and I rock motherhood as doing double role, right? But one of the things that I wish I had is more memories. More memories. I wish, and I get teary because I don't even have that with my stepfather. My mom lives
Mhm.
outside. So, but when we do go to Puerto Rico, I try to create these memories. And he also came here, he did my floor, and
Oh, wow.
I'm always telling my mom, you better leave him alone. I'm gonna bring him over here and I'm gonna take care of him. And
Sweetie, what's his first name? What's your stepfather's first name?
his name is Roberto, and he has no daughter, so I'm his daughter. He
Oh,
has two
beautiful.
sons. And actually, I bought him something. I'm gonna show it to you guys because I
Thank you.
bought
So his name is Rojito? Is that what you heard the name?
Roberto, I thought. Roberto,
Roberto.
but
I
I
bought
Okay.
can.
I bought him a Father's Day gift, but when I opened it, I was like, "Oh no, that Father's Day, everybody was excited about it." And I was like, "Fine, I'm gonna have to buy him something, and we keeping it." This is him.
And my screen has just gone off, so I can hear you, but I can't see you. You guys can see
Oops,
me though, right?
Oh, yeah, I can see you.
Okay,
it's a
good.
magnet.
As a,
Okay.
and he's in the face. It's his face, a magnet with the belly and a coffee in the hand.
And his name is Roberto?
And his name is Roberto, and it says Papa Roberto.
Oh,
There, and he is so amazing. He is the best thing, and and I was very grateful. I am very grateful for him, and yeah, I think that for me that's been one of the things that it brought a conversation for my daughters because one of the things they did yesterday they came without a gift for my husband. And that hurt my feelings. And I threw a tantrum. And they're like, Ma, it's just a gift. He doesn't even care. And I'm like, it could have been a $5 gift card from Dunkin' Donuts. As much as that man does for us. And then I was like, but I get it. You didn't, this is new. This is
Right.
new, so I got my granddaughter and we painted some rocks and we gave them to grandpa. But I was like, but it is our responsibility to cherish these good men. One of the things that I saw in my Facebook is a lot of people, oh, let's don't feel because you're a father, you get to say happy Father's Day. And my thought is we need to encourage men to understand how much that quality time means for a developing child, for a little girl.
absolutely. And is it different, do you think? I mean, this always bothers me when I ask the question because I don't want to get into stereotypes, but is there something different about being a girl's father than being a girl's mother?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the.
Okay, so now,
Okay, so the way that I understand this is that,
yeah,
the men are expected to provide and to protect. And so, that we can celebrate when they do it.
I think I
so
get it. So I think so. It is different because men's are there to the expectation, right? The human, socially, men are expected to do this. This is what has been introduced for years, right? But this is also why a lot of girls may also look for man figures or be abused or be exposed to things they shouldn't be exposed because if the man protection for a man can be I'm giving her a house, but is there a conversation? So I think, Holly, to go back to what you're saying, I think it is different, right? Because even though I could tell my daughters about what to protect or what to watch out for, I believe in one thing that Roberto did with me as an adult is having that conversation about you're precious, your value. And I get serious,
Mm.
your value. Men are gonna see you like this, but make sure you're able to learn these things before you say yes. Um, a man that loves you is going to be like this and help you identify what, but also treat a little girl how she needs to be treated so they can expect it from their loved ones. Like for me, one of the things I used to have I used to feel judges about number of guys that I had, right? But I grew up with a mom who said, I'm not gonna tolerate no man. I'd rather have 10 men in my life before I settle for this disrespect. So as I started my life, every time a man will lie, or every time instead of me trying a little bit more, I would just quit. Bye, next. And then that next, here I am with another belly. It wasn't until I gave myself permission, thanks to Roberto, gave myself permission and even to learn a little bit about behaviors to start understanding like where these behaviors come. And maybe I didn't have and I cannot. And even when my daughter chose to have a baby, to this
Mhm.
day, she's celebrating my granddaughter's third birthday on Saturday. And she's like, I don't want her family to come. And I'm like, no, they have to come. This is the family you chose. And we spoke about this. So now we need to model the difference, but never put a barrier to that. Because at the end of the day, this can influence negatively. And so I do
Yeah,
think
I bet.
quality time is very essential. Hearing your daughter, money, and one of the things that I say and I tell my husband, money cannot replace that.
That's right. So I'm listening to you both, and I'm appreciative of what you're saying. And what I'm trying to get down to is, for me, I know that there were imposed expectations about a man should be this kind of, a father should be this way and a mother should be this way. And I didn't like those stereotypes because they were very stereotypic. You know, the mother has to provide love and a good home, and the father provides protection, and the father provides
Resources.
resources. He's a provider, the great provider. And you know what? All three of us as mothers or as working with young children, we're the providers. We
Right.
provided for ourselves and we provided for our children. And so I don't go with that stereotype, but I want to go deeper. But I understand it. Oh, good, the picture's back.
The
What I'm trying.
roles are,
But let me show you Roberto now if you see us.
Oh, I love the belly. You can pat the belly like Buddha. Oh,
With
he's so cute.
coffee.
Denise, yeah, what were you going to say,
so
sweetie?
the roles are, incorrect. We women can provide better financially often. And so to me, it's patriarchy continuing itself. That's why we got to have a father. That's why we got to have good men, or that's why we have to encourage good men, which I agree, encourage good men. But women can do whatever, and men can do the
So
other.
women were taught to be submissive, right? And because we
Mhm.
were taught to be submissive, the man will go out and provide. And what's happening and what has happened with time is that because we were taught to be submissive, we were taught to be quiet. So we didn't have a voice in our house. So this is why women will and my book was inspired by my daughter who was going through domestic violence. I
Mm.
never experienced physical domestic violence. So for my daughter to had experienced that, that was for me the understanding of the void of her father not being there and her
Right.
seeing a submissive mom in a way, because even though my kids did not see different parents, but when I was with my son's father, my third, he was an alcoholic, and they saw me trying, and I remember ending that because I said, if I don't stop this, my daughters are going to think this is okay.
Right.
But that was
You
the
know,
conversation.
I just remember one time, one of our earliest programs, Priscilla, when all three of us were together, and somebody in your daughter's life, and I met your daughter. She's lovely. She's on the cover of your book. She's like, she's perfect in many ways. You got the perfect body. She's so pretty. And you went up to where she lives in the Boston area because some guy was coming there and like he was going to ram her car or something like that. And I remember specifically, Denise, do you remember that Priscilla said,
I
I called
don't.
the police and I told them I was coming because I'm not going to let this happen to my daughter. And in many ways, you could have been seen as the father figure coming in. This, I'm going to protect her. I'm not going to let her get in trouble. I'm going to keep her
Right.
safe. So I think a lot of times, and if you want to respond to that, go ahead. But that was a memorable time that you did that. And you didn't have any question. You were 100% on your purpose when you were
The
going up there to do
protector. Right.
Yeah, and it's like Denise said, as mothers, we're providers. We're also protector because while they out there making the money, we in the house making sure that no flies come in. And if they come
Right.
in, we take them out. And exactly what happened, I protected my daughters, but then I started also realizing that there was something that no matter how much I try, it was in I couldn't feel it in. And I think when I started having the conversation with my daughter about, I think this is the results of you not having your father, and I apologize for, because right, one of the things that you said then is you had these two guys, right? But in my life, in difference, my daughters I'm able to identify uncles that I will
Right.
stay, including my house right now. The way I see my house, the way I started having my home, it was thanks to my aunts. I have two aunts and two uncles who both taught me with love without them even knowing how they were modeling. I never saw them fighting. I saw my uncles being very present to their kids' life. So I wish that those uncles, and they were also very good to me. And when I
Mm.
would come with my kids, they were also very welcoming to my kids. So I started wishing I had those type of male figures in my life.
Right. Right.
Well,
But
let's get down to it. Yeah, go ahead, sweetie.
yeah, but my daughters don't have that, right? They don't have an uncle, they don't have a big brother. Well, my son, it's their brother. It's not a big brother. And just recently, when they became teenagers, that they really had a father figure in their life.
So let's just get down. Thank you for sharing all that, my friends. And let's get down to what does a child need in terms of child development as we know it from our own life experiences and our studies. What does a child need from parents? And to me, it's not so much different between the mother and the father. The basic thing that any child needs is to be loved for who she is, seen as who she is, heard as who she is, accepted as who she is. So basically, the child is loved unconditionally by both the mother and the father. That's the most crucial thing, loved and accepted. And in all three of our situations, we had a problem. My father was a narcissist, my mother was mentally ill. Denise, your father had challenges right even before he died.
Right.
So he wasn't really present to you. And Priscilla, your dad, like my dad, was a narcissist, and your mother had challenges too, right? So that basic need of being loved and accepted and seen as precious and special, every child deserves that. Every child deserves that. That's the first thing that I want to have. I picture both mother and father doing. And I've seen fathers that just love their daughters. They just think she's the most special thing. And I look at that and sometimes my mouth is open like, oh,
Mhm.
gee, it's so beautiful. But then let's look at, does the mother bring something different? Does the father bring something different? And here's something new that I want to say. I think every parent brings something different depending upon who the parent is.
Right.
Right? So I might have well, let me see what I had. So I had a father that was an engineer, and he brought understanding, knowledge, and capacity to build things. So he literally built the house that I grew up in. And I remember my father never smiled at me. The man could not bear me. But I was a little kid, maybe 4 years old, running around. I remember this running around the outside of the place where the house was going to be built. First, they dig up the basement area. My father had something which was, I don't know what it's called, but it had greenish yellow liquid in it. It was like it told you
Level,
what was it called?
a level.
Was
Mhm.
a level. And the level was the liquid was like this, if it was level. And I remember running around, nobody watching me. I was like 10 feet down. I could have really gotten hurt if I tripped. But that was the way it was. Nobody was protecting me. My father was down there in that place and he had the level and he was doing all these things. And I just stopped and I looked down and I was just really impressed that this one person could take the earth, cut a shape out of it, have a vision, understand that this was going to be a house, and a house isn't just a house. And I remember looking down at him, I must have been smiling. And that's the only time I remember my father smiling at me. I didn't forget that. And then I
Right,
talked with a female therapist like decades later, and she said, isn't it amazing that the one or two times when our fathers paid attention to us, that we don't forget that we hold on to that is what we needed. So I'm going to go back to the basic thing about what are parents, what's father, mother figure. I think the child needs parents. I think the child needs a village. I think a child needs a whole group of people
right,
that love that child and can see different things in the child. I had an
right.
aunt,
Talks to him in the grocery store. What
right? I had an
at
aunt
the
Esther that said,
restaurant.
you got it.
Right.
My aunt Esther would say to me, you need to be polite. And so she taught me to say, please, thank you, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, all this stuff. And I got that. And I saw the response people gave me. And she was so proud of me. She'd take me out to restaurants and stuff because I knew how to
How to
do.
be polite. Right.
And I learned that from Aunt Esther. And later on, when it was time for me to go to college, Aunt Esther wanted to pay for me to go to what was called a finishing school. Do you guys hear about finishing schools?
Mm-hmm.
Priscilla, oh my God, it was where you got sent to become all the things that a wife.
Ladylike. My sister went. I didn't go. I was not interested in any of
No, well, I didn't want to do that, but I still felt like I was, what is it nice? Wasn't it nice to be special to my Aunt Esther that she wanted to pay for me to
right.
go to this college? And it was all because she and I connected. So what I'm trying to say here, I think to myself is father figure, mother figure, loving parent figures. And
A
because the
loving
world
community too.
loving community, right? And because there are different things that a child needs, like security, protection, gentleness, kindness, those got sex coded. But I know men, and you guys know men that can do that about as well as women, if not more. I look at Pete Buttigieg and his partner Chastain. They are loving those twins. They are just loving those twins. And I've seen men that are just so good with their babies. We see them
Right.
at Head
And,
Start, etc.
and I think, Holly, that most men that are good with their babies is because if you look, they had a good dad. Some of
Good
them
point.
did not have a
Mhm.
good dad, but they want to be that good dad. So they
That's right.
allow people to teach them and help them. And the thing is with us women sometimes, and it's fair to say that sometimes we hear a man saying, "This is what I want," but the reality is their action is very different because I want to be a millionaire, but if I don't learn how to manage my finances and learn how to invest, I would never become a millionaire. And in order for me to learn that, I need to let somebody teach me and I need to be open and aware that I do have some deficiency. And I think that with men's and because of the stigma and this machista stuff, it's hard for them to say this is happening. And also in women's, instead of us seeing a man from where they came from, we start judging them. My husband, I think he became a better dad when we became together because he was a provider. He was a safety guard. This was the type of man. He
Mm.
never thought about going to Six Flags with his children or doing these things with his children because he didn't taught that. So with
Mhm.
me, we're doing family time and he had to learn this. we continue to learn and grow there. But one of the things that it took me for me was to know that his father's not involved.
Gotcha.
So I
So
had to be like,
I hear
he
you,
is
girl.
the father. He's the best father he can be on how he think it should be. And most men are like that. And I think if we start looking at them, if we be a little bit more sensitive, we open up a space to make sure we protect. For me, the most important thing once we have children is to protect that relationship and make sure we always model healthy. And when we speak negatively about the men we chose, because that's an adult decision, the kids did not decide it.
Hmm.
When we speak negatively, we are planting seeds of fear, of anxiety. We're teaching them how to say one thing from the other, and we're really not teaching them how to protect themselves.
That's such a hard thing because if we've got a man who's a narcissist or a man who's just not being a
Sure.
good father and we left him for that reason. I don't want to leave Denise out on this, but we, we're no longer
Right.
in that relationship. And the children are saying, "Why are you not with daddy?" And my natural inclination is to tell the truth. I mean, you know what they say when people don't work together anymore, it just wasn't a good fit. Well, children don't understand that. So I was loyal to that unwritten rule that said don't talk negatively about the man. But as a result, or about your parents. So as a result, I didn't tell my children the truth. And I think it must have been very hard for them to comprehend and make sense out of the fact that I had a challenged relationship with my father because I never said my father abused me. I never said, I didn't want them to feel afraid of him. But I think they probably picked it up because honestly, children pick up stuff all the time. So what I want to get down to, and you guys take it in a different direction if you want to, what I want to get down to is I think every child needs to feel safe and protected. And many people would say that's the man's job, but I think it's the parents and the village's job. And honestly, I did not ever feel protected and safe. And then that affects me up until age 80. I did not feel when I was a woman or a young girl walking down the street that I was safe. I did I did for a while because I had magical thinking. I would walk everywhere. I would take bikes everywhere. I went all over the place by myself, or I would organize bike hikes, and I never was afraid that someone would harm me. Part of that was because I could run my tail off faster than most people, and I could bike faster than most people. But I needed someone to be there to say, here's how you protect yourself. Here's what you do. I mean, we work with little kids now to say, no, you can't touch my body. Well, my father was touching my body. He is touching my body. So I didn't even know that I could say no. And then that affected me for much of my life. So what I'm saying is somebody, I don't care if it's the mother or the father, but somebody's got to say to the child, you have a right to be safe. Your body is sacred. There's nobody that can touch your body unless you want them to. Imagine how that would have changed our lives, Denise, and maybe Priscilla
Right.
too. If somebody had said to us, your father comes toward you, you just say no.
Yeah, you got a good point because my mom always protected us from my dad, right?
How did she do that?
She tried. She tried to keep us away from him. She went to court for it. What I now learned is that even though she was trying to keep us apart because we were minors, he still has some sort of access. And another thing is that even though she was keeping us away, it was also not the healthiest way because she would tell us, he's this, he's that. And what I think and what I encourage people in these circumstances to do is to seek help. Go for a trauma or family therapist because they should be able to help you develop the tools to make sure that you're creating a language, child appropriate language for healthy relationship. And this means helping like you said, Holly, teaching your child how to say no, teaching your child how to say that it's not part of, but then a narcissistic parent, like as adult as I am, my father's like, don't bring that to me. I'm your father. You need to honor me. But, and then creating strict boundaries. Um, w- because one of the things I read this book, it's called Co-Parenting in a Toxic Relationship with a toxic parent, something like that. And we still have to protect that innocence of their child. We can always bring this responsibility to them. And if they don't listen, bring them to court. But you also want to make sure that you're doing things not to harm the kid. Because when they little, they really don't understand. One of the things that I told my kids is that when adults don't get along, and that there's no remedy. Sometimes separation, it doesn't make us bad. It just makes we just have to separate. And I don't know, but for me, leaving the space was the best. I have no regrets because now they no longer have access. So they weren't able. I could just, and one of the things my daughters now see and really appreciate, it's me leaving. I remember also asking my mom when I was 12, when she asked, she said, maybe I should have stood with your dad, maybe things. And I'm like, Ma, I wish you would have left a long time ago. I don't know why you stood so long.
How does she respond?
I remember she looked at me like she didn't thought I would tell her that.
Mm-hmm. But you
Um,
did.
but she did. Yeah. And I think that also helped my mom understand
Mm-hmm.
that that I saw, that I felt. And honestly, we just carry it. Those wounds are like the same wounds. It's just different, but it's very deep. It's deep wounds that we carry for the rest of our life.
And now we're back to being trauma. Now, as we come to our last 5 minutes, we're back to being trauma survivors walking each other home. And one of the things that I continuously need to develop and grow about is this. I know I have to be my own protector. I also know I can ask for help. So there are times when I'm in a group situation and I will just enlist people for help. No problem. But as a child, I had no idea I could ask anybody for help. And I remember night after night after night when I could not get to sleep because I was afraid my father would come in the bedroom and abuse me. And who was I going to ask for help? There was nobody. And that's where my problem with the divine came in because I learned Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. And Jesus will answer, he's right, they'll be right there for you. So I would say, Jesus, don't let this happen. And then it would happen. And so how did I understand who God was as a child? So this thing about protecting and self-protecting, here's what it added up to me as an adult who is a trauma survivor is at first I was very angry that I had to provide protection for myself. When I was in law school, I got two of my buddies together. There was a self-defense course being presented across the street at the undergraduate college. I said, let's go do it. And the three of us learned how to get people off of us. I learned how to flip a guy. I mean, because we were like three women supporting each other, we really got it down. And I felt like I can go out on the street at night. I can be safe. I guess I can get somebody off of me. I can be safe. But that I also had a resentment, and resentments are like poison. They're going to poison the person that's got the resentment. So I know that having a resentment is not good. But for years, my friends, I'm going to tell you the truth. As a trauma survivor, I resented that I had to become my own loving parent and provide everything that wasn't provided to me because I was thinking, it's not right.
I
Somebody
think
needs
that
to
will be
give
a
that to me.
great, I think that will be a great topic for us to talk about. How do we know we're no longer holding resentment?
Good point, girl.
Because I still feel like at times I get mad, like
Mm-hmm.
very mad.
Mm-hmm. And mad for me is okay, but holding that resentment, that's not okay. Things happen, Priscilla, when I get angry, like somebody does something and I see it and I just get angry and say no. But if I start resenting it, it's because then I'm becoming a victim. That's what happens, sweetheart. When I become a victim again, that's when I have resentments because I think somebody else should be saving me. And guess what? As a traumatized little girl, somebody should have been there. Should. But I can should all over myself, and there wasn't anybody there. So how do we deal with that? And Priscilla, you nailed it. Let's talk about resentment sometime. And Denise, what's going on with you as you hear all this stuff about being protected? And girl, you were not only not protected, you're the one, I don't mean to, but you're the one that walked into your bedroom and there was your dad dead, right? What a
Right, right,
scary thing.
right.
Terrible.
At
Yeah, I
4,
think, yeah, 4 years old, I found his dead body. Yeah,
That's impossible.
yeah,
And nobody was there to protect you.
no. Yeah, I just think that, all these traditional understandings about what men and that we need a father figure and that I think it just perpetuates power over patriarchy and it's good for children to have a loving father and a loving mother. It creates a loving person, but people who didn't have that, they can build themselves a loving life without.
And it's often through a community. Denise, you've done it through communities, right?
Right. Yep.
And there's a
and
feel
we heal. We
we
heal as we help other heal.
Right.
we
That is
feel
how we
as we
heal.
feel. We feel, and that leads us to heal. And we help each other. So, guys, as we sum up, is there anything you want to say to our fellow trauma survivors or people that love trauma survivors about this whole thing about Father's Day? Anything you'd like to say?
Interestingly, I was part of a women's retreat at the Nest, where I've been
Hmm.
doing community service also. And we had a women's retreat this weekend, which was entitled Herstory. And the main topic of discussion, which I am, very capable of discussing, was trauma. So
Good.
everybody had trauma. And so that was not, that's how I expressed my Father's Day was,
Mhm.
talking to other women about trauma.
And you know what I did for my Father's Day? I was with my son. My son has a father, but the father's a narcissist. And my son is not getting what he needs, but I am there for my son in ways that might be traditionally feminine, traditionally masculine. I mean, I'm there and I love him through everything. Unconditional love him. I get angry at him, but I still love him and he knows that. But the other thing I do is I am very direct. And I think that people often see that as a masculine trait, being strong, being clear, being direct. I'm very direct with him. If there's a problem, we talk about it, hear choices. And he, when he wants to know what the truth is, he'll call me, Mom. And I love that. Can you imagine the three of us if we'd had somebody in our lives we could have talked to and said, what's really going on here?
Right.
So that's how I celebrated Father's Day. And I didn't honestly think of my father. I used to think about him all the time. But once I said to him, as he died, and I realized he could never be a father to me, could never love me, but that was about him. It affected me, but he's the one that couldn't do the loving. And I said, I release you and I release myself. That was one of the most freeing things I could ever have done. And yet I still grieve. I still grieve that I didn't have a loving father. And Priscilla, what about you? What would you say to folk on
I
father?
Yeah, I reflected in gratitude while also grieving. I grieve that I didn't have that father, but I'm also honoring the little boy who now are becoming fathers and the little boys who are can become great parents by yesterday even when I went to my friend's house, she has a husband who doesn't have kids, but he accepted her son. We brought him a gift and happy Father's Day because you are doing that father role and it goes beyond. So I think that men's also have gone through a lot of stuff and they're not in knowledge on it. So educating, reflecting, and honoring, like I kept on telling my husband, this is beautiful. I love this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm glad you got your husband, sweetie. Every time I look at Roberto, I think, now there's a good guy. He's a good
No, so
man.
Roberto is my stepfather.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who
Eric is my husband.
is it just Eric or is it
Yeah, Eric.
Eric?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Roberto's stepfather. When I'm talking about Eric, when I look at Eric, I think that's a loving guy.
He is.
He's a
I'm
sweetheart.
lucky. I'm lucky to have him.
But you did it. I mean, how many of us trauma survivors do not end up with good partners? But you did it. We'll have to talk about that sometime too.
Well, he did it because it took him 4 years before I was like, okay, because I honestly did not thought it was gonna happen.
But he didn't quit. He didn't quit on you. He saw that you were precious and he didn't quit.
Yes.
Imagine that, Denise.
But that also, right? He was brought up without a dad. So that
Right.
also came with his own flaws. So acknowledging both of our we'll probably this will be a whole topic because we read the five languages of love before
Yes.
we got married. We did a journal, and every time it was 100 questions, and that question brought us to early childhood experiences. So every time him or I are like, we go back into that journal, remember, we're not perfect. This is
Right.
our story.
That's so good you did that. That's a conscious thing to do. And in my experience, haven't been that many men willing to do that.
Right.
But if we teach our daughters how to build these tools and create these boundaries, a person who loves them and respect them and honor and wants to build on would do that.
It's possible.
It's possible.
It's possible, my friends. So let's say goodbye to our audience. Really glad you joined us and join us in person if you want to. We'll see you next week. And we got topics that are really burgeoning that are wonderful, like resentment. What about resentment? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Learning how to love after is
learning
it
how to
even
love,
possible? Because
girlfriend, that's what it's all about. And the whole time behind you has been your sweet dog there going,
hey, yeah, she's
puppy,
want to come say hi?
hello, sweet cakes. I love that we have these loving forces all around us. Oh,
So cute.
so cute. Okay, guys, I love you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a good week.
See you next
Okay,
week.
fare thee well.
Bye.
Fare thee well. Thank you.